Welcome to the Callis Mindset, the show where discipline meets growth and high-performance thinking becomes a way of life. I'm your host, Kannon Callis. Each episode, we'll sit down with elite entrepreneurs, top real estate professionals, and leaders who refuse to settle for average. If you're ready to think smarter, lead stronger, and build a mindset that separates the committed from the comfortable, you're in the right place. Today's high-performance expert is Kris Miller, market president at Empire Title. Kris has spent the last 20 years refining his leadership skills across real estate, lending, insurance, and even venture capital, giving him one of the most complete perspectives in the Idaho market. He's led statewide operations, managed teams, overseen recruiting and budgeting, and played a major role in driving revenue and market share growth for some of the most well-known companies in the region. Kris is known for his communication, negotiation, and ability to bring clarity to complex deals. But what truly sets him apart is his mindset. His career didn't happen by accident. It was built on consistency, adaptability, and the mentality shaped by decades of market cycles and industry evolution. As a proud Boise State graduate and longtime Idaho professional, Kris has watched the Treasure Valley transform from the quiet region it once was to one of the fastest growing markets in the country. And he's not just seen the change, he's led through it. Today, we're diving into the mindset behind his leadership, the lessons learned from highs and lows, and his perspective on the Idaho's rapid growth and what it means for the future. Kris, welcome to the show.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Kannon.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Before we dive into your career, what does mindset mean to you, and how does it affect leadership and career growth?
Well, mindset is everything. The brain is definitely the most powerful tool that we have. And there's different parts of mindset, right? And so believing you can accomplish anything, optimism, knowing that each day is a new day and what happened yesterday doesn't define who you can be today or who you will be tomorrow. Having that determination and will come from your mind. The only thing that can stop you is the way you think, and your thoughts become who you are. And if you want to be who you want to be, think that's who you will be. And so, yeah, I mean, it really is. It's just all mindset.
Yeah, I agree with that. And so specifically, what are some of the high points earlier in your career that gave you momentum to getting started?
I came from a small town, didn't really know a lot of people when I got to Boise. I got into this industry, and I started finding success in relationships and relating to people. And there was an opportunity in the company I was at for this promotion, not a big one, but it was from like the data entry side into the marketing side. And there were a couple guys that thought they'd have it, and I'd been there and I really wanted it. And I went in, man, I came prepared. I had a portfolio of projects I had done, a whole thing for my interview, and came in and just won it, right? Like determined, and got that job. And I feel like seeing that little bit of success and growth, and that what I was able to accomplish, and then having a really good leader at that time once I got the job, that kind of kept pointing me in the right direction. But just having the courage to take that first step back when I was a 19-year-old kid going for a job that was normally 25-year-olds had.
Yep. Yeah. And then it sounds like you were really prepared, and maybe you went, you took it seriously and went above and beyond, and they were really receptive to that.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't ever be too prepared, I guess.
That's right. Well, thanks for sharing that. What about any low points at the beginning that taught you resilience?
I don't know about low points at the beginning. I mean, I've had my challenges. We all have challenges pretty much every day. I think the low point for me was my pathway kept going like this, right? And when the recession hit after 2009, and you have these visions and these thoughts that you're unstoppable and you're going to just keep on this trajectory of growth, like everybody did, and you find yourself feeling like you're losing everything. The one thing I knew was if I put my boots on, and if I go to work and I work hard at life and at whatever it is I'm focused on every day, I will have success. And I climbed myself out of the hole faster than I think any of my friends, just because I wasn't wallowing in my problems. I was just strapping on the boots and getting to work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, is just showing up no matter what the circumstances are and staying resilient to the goal that you have personally, regardless of circumstances outside of your control. And the 2007 to 2009 era was one of the hardest times for most Americans alive today, if they were alive back then. My family faced financial hardship, and I've seen many other families do the same thing, but they bounced back. And it's how you approach that next step, I think, to, what really defines your character.
And
So I guess, go ahead.
I think the mindset at that time was, there was the determination piece, but it was also that mindset of gratitude. When you find yourself losing so much, it's easy to be disappointed a lot. And so any little success or any little good thing that happened, I was just like so grateful, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that really helped during that time too, to stay positive and feel like there was growth happening by celebrating and being appreciative of all the little good things that were starting to happen.
Yeah, that's a really good mindset to have, is gratitude. When you feel like things are being taken away or things out of your control, you got to be grateful and appreciative of the things that you do have control of, and the things in your life that do matter. And so thanks for the feedback there. I want to go next to the Idaho market topic. And this is, you've been in business for over 20 years, watching Idaho transform. And the growth has been really, really high volume. The population here has doubled, and it's doubled again, I'm sure, in that time frame. What mentality does it require to stay relevant with all of that growth over the last 20 years?
Yeah, staying relevant is a really good thing to talk about, because you see it a lot in different industries. A new restaurant pops up, there's a line out the door. 2 years later, they're shutting down because the next best thing came to town, right? A little bit fortunate in our business because title insurance isn't the next best thing. In fact, it's been around for for as long as land has been around and people wanted to own it. So, but every time we have been innovative, our competitors become innovative. They see what we did, and so now everybody's doing that one thing. And so the way that we stay relevant is by talking to our customer. We don't think, what does our customer want? What is our customer's pain? How do we fill it? We ask our clients, where is your pain? What would you like to see? What would help you out the most? And then we come up with ideas on how to solve that problem for them. And I think a lot of companies fall into that mindset of, I've got the idea, I'm going to take it to the clients or who I'm trying to get business out of, instead of just picking up the phone and saying, hey, what do you want?
Yeah, just asking them rather than just expecting and maybe assuming that something that they might have not told you. But what about for real estate agents, title agents, lenders, real estate professionals in general? How have you seen them reacting to stay, proactive, to be relevant as well?
I know on the real estate agent side, it's interesting. Anytime there's a shift in the market, it feels like some of the bigger producing agents in the good times tend to disappear in the bad times, and some of the agents that were okay producers in the good times, they do really well in the hard times. I feel like it's because the agents that are working at it, right? It's a full-time job. They're going to work every day. They're working their leads. They're working their sphere. They're making the phone calls. They take it serious. They're on time for appointments. They're showing up and they're doing that stuff that they know will create success. They're the ones that still do well in a slow time. As far as innovation, I'm blown away at the agents that I see that really capitalize on social media and video, the TikTok, the way they generate leads through the internet, those that are now integrating AI into their business. We're working on a couple things around AI for our business. And I think the agents that continue to adapt to where the client is going, right? Like when they find out what is it that the home buyer or home seller is missing right now, what is their pain, and if I can figure out how to help with that, they'll be more successful.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of change with social media. It seems like today that if you're an agent and you're not doing content creation, that no one might know who you are. It's like the most successful agents that I know that are in my sphere today, they're also really good at content creation and capturing their personality and pushing it outward. Oh, and by the way, I do real estate, or by the way, I'm a really funny person, so you engage with me, but then you realize I do real estate, and then it kind of converts from there. So there's a few behaviors I think that separate people who grow in the industry consistently, no matter the market conditions, if it's good or bad, and then those who plateau and they kind of just hit that peak and then they go down from there. What are some of the standards that you hold yourself to, or how you manage pressure and conflict from running statewide operations? Is there anything, standards that you would share with us?
I think, I don't know about standards, but definitely when it comes to managing people, that's where the challenge comes, right? That's where leaders earn their paycheck. Getting the most out of people, even when they show up with their worst. And I think as far as that goes, you as a leader, you set the cadence, you set the tone. So my standard is I don't walk through that front door to run this company unless I am smiling, no matter what's happened in my home life, no matter what happened to me the day before, no matter what's going on, I'm waving the banner. I'm in a good place, because that will bring the energy for the rest of the company. And then another standard, I guess, would be this philosophy of seek first to understand, right? If something bad happens, a lot of times it's not even the thing that happened, it's something else that triggered that reaction by an employee or a customer. And so not just dealing with that problem in front of you, but asking why are we having this problem? Where does this root of the problem come from? And I think that has been something that's been really helpful for me as a leader.
Yeah, just asking additional questions to get to the truth of the equation, rather than on a surface level, someone can tell you this is the problem, but unless you dig a bit deeper, you might not uncover what the real problem is.
Yeah.
And being in sales and leadership, for me personally, I've taken a mentality that I don't ask anyone to do anything that I personally wouldn't do first. And I know there's the golden rule of treat people the way that you want to be treated. And then there's the platinum rule of treat people the way that they want to be treated. And that's also another thing I try to use in my business is if I know the communication style of someone, I'm going to use that communication style. And that kind of leads to my next question. You've been known by many as a communication expert. What helps you stay clear-minded, calm, and effective when turbulence arrives or when things get chaotic?
I think people might laugh at this, but I was an Eagle Scout, right? And from an early age, the thing that you're taught in all the emergency preparedness and all of that, the number one rule is stay calm. So whenever something blows up, I think it's because I just learned at an early age, stay calm. Getting reactive, getting angry, getting upset, that is not going to fix the problem. And understanding too, when it's a fire and when it's a challenge, right? And I think sometimes challenges can be harder, because when your house is on fire, the answer to that problem is easy, right? Get out of the house, call 911.
Right.
When there's a smaller problem, it actually becomes more complex. So you really got to stay calm and understand what's going on with this customer, what's going on with this employee. But yeah, when there's an emergency, stay calm.
Yeah, that's right. It's hard to make informed decisions if you're reacting emotionally, and entirely emotionally, rather than just going in with a calm mind. And I know it's a big challenge for a lot of people, is that when chaos and when catastrophe shows itself, people immediately react, and a lot of times they'll make an emotional decision that could hurt them rather than fixing the problem immediately. So I think a lot of that ties to communication and also your experience as a business leader. If you've been through if this is your first rodeo, you're going to react a little bit differently than if you've been through this circumstance 100 times. And so the experience will speak to it as well.
And I would add too, as the entrepreneur, the business owner side, is communication's a lot easier when you have a clear vision, when everyone knows what that vision is and everyone's working towards the same thing, because then the communication revolves around, does this fit where we're going? Are we having this conversation because it's going to get us to where we want to be, or is it distraction and what's really going on? And that is one thing I think businesses have a hard time, and I've had challenges with in the past, of people showing up to work and go, why am I here every day? What are we doing?
Yeah. Trying to figure out what that purpose is. And a lot of that has to do with how the leadership communicates to the employees or the staff or the team members. And that example that you're setting, like you mentioned from the top, setting that standard and that example and showing up with the right mentality to communicate effectively. I've seen it time and time again where I've even had bosses that they showed up and they're having something personal going on in their life, whether it's a divorce, a family member passed away, financial struggles, you name it. And they carry that to work, and it comes right out of their mouth. You can understand they're going through something based on the way that they're communicating. And it sets the standard for the entire staff, the team, and it kills the morale. And so I think coming in with the right mindset, it's a powerful tool that a lot of people probably are just going through the motions. If you show up intentionally with the right attitude and the right headspace, I mean, it can translate right to your team.
Yeah, and I call it protecting my headspace. Whatever's going on, I get to choose what I let in, right? And so if I feel myself, something is getting to me and my attitude, I have to protect that and say, I can't let this get in, and I'm going to continue to be who I know I need to be and how I need to think.
Yeah, that's a good point. One thing that we do at our brokerage in real estate, and they teach this to every agent that joins their team, is there's 3 things you need to really be consider about when you're starting your day. And that is your mentality and where your headspace is, your physicality and where your body is, and then your spirituality and where your heart and your soul is. And if you take care of those 3 things in the morning every day, and it might be something small, it might be a 5-minute meditation, a 5-minute prayer, a 5-minute reading, workout. You get to name what you do in your own life, but if you have those 3 bases covered, then the results the rest of your day, it happens with ease. It's smooth, and you can do a lot more if you take care of yourself first. And that's one of the biggest topics and points of this podcast is going to be making sure that you're taking care of your mindset. That's the name. And then also your heart and your soul. And so I think when you're in those positions and you start in a routine that takes care of yourself, you can take care of everyone around you after that. And that's just a big lesson that I've been shared that's really helped with me in my life, and just staying on what I need to perform each day.
No, it's something that is good to remember. And I can speak from experience. The interest rate shot up in 22, and life got really hard really fast. And I spent a couple of years not taking care of myself, and started putting on weight and didn't have the energy, and had some health problems. Now I'm on, you get on the blood pressure pills and you're like, what is it? Spiraling. And the older you get, Kannon, I'm telling you, the faster this stuff spirals. And luckily, recognized what was happening and have started making some significant changes in my lifestyle. And what do you know? Work is improving, health is improving, everything. I have more energy, things are better. And so it's hard, but if you can do that stuff consistently, it makes a huge difference, like you were saying.
Yeah, and I think COVID really threw a curveball to a lot of people, especially the extroverts. They're always going out into the world and doing things like what you and me do. But the lockdowns it wasn't just a psychological warfare, it was physical, because when you can't go to the gyms or you can't go to I was living in Denver, Colorado, and they shut down hiking trails. So when you can't do hikes, I mean, you're going to have a result to that. And I got in the same rut where I started gaining weight. I wasn't feeling good about my health, and also my 3 pillars are health, wealth, and relationships. And if one of those legs of the pillars is not strong, it topples over, and it kind of has a chain reaction. And so when you're not feeling great about yourself due to internal and external circumstances, sometimes that reflects and projects onto other people as well. So it can really be a domino effect. And COVID kind of taught me that for the first time. I never had been in that scenario before, like most of us, but it was a huge issue, and I had to overcome that. And just now, a few years later, kind of getting back to that balance. But overall, I think it was a good learning experience for many of us.
Yeah. What's interesting about COVID is I started that hard 75 challenge. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I did too.
right when COVID started, and I had a good accountability group, and I'm lucky enough that I have a gym in my office, and I'm in Idaho, so it was less shut down. But I feel like my leadership and communication through COVID was probably the best that it had ever been, because I was so focused and so routine and living the most healthy version that I could be. And our company did really well through COVID, navigating all of the challenges and the regulation and the increased workload in the real estate market. So it does make a difference.
Yeah, that's an amazing result, that you're able to use that as an opportunity. As a lot of other people, their businesses were shut down, or they couldn't work their job because they weren't essential. So it's really good to see that leadership can pivot during crisis and grow a company. Especially in the mortgage and the real estate industry, COVID was almost a wave of demand. We hit record highs for mortgage applications in the last several years. We hit record highs for home prices. Just people that, I can't go anywhere or do anything. I need land. I need property. I need to get somewhere that has mountains, somewhere that has hikes, somewhere that has outdoor opportunities. And that's kind of what we saw is the market shifted from inner cities to people were moving outside the main city grids and buying houses in mountainous areas and areas that have nature, outdoor life to offer. So I know we've talked quite a bit about the mindset and some of your experience. Do you have any lessons to leave with our listeners about what kind of mindset they should take? And I know we've talked about consistency, disciplined, pushing through barriers. Is there any number one topic or main point that you'd like to share about mindset that guided your entire career?
That's a good question, because I think when you say mindset, it's all encompassing, even though it breaks down certain different thought patterns that people have. I don't know if I could pinpoint it on other than I've never believed that I can't, right? I've never believed that I can't learn something, and I'm always learning. I don't know it all. I know that. But I never believed that if I don't know it now, I can figure out how to do it, and there's no reason it can't be me. And I feel like we all can achieve whatever we want in this life. The cost will just be different, right?
Yep.
And so somebody that wants to do anything they can, they're just going to have to learn more. They're going to have to grow more. They're going to have to get out their comfort zone. Some things come natural to me, and some things don't, and recognizing what those are and knowing what to work on. But yeah, I think ultimately, end of the day, I never believed I was some kid from a little town and mountain home with nothing that had his lot in life, that I could go and do and be whatever I wanted to be, and saw an avenue of something that interests me back when I was 19 years old, and I just kept at it, and now get to be an owner of a company and the industry that I started in. And I never thought that I couldn't, Kannon. I just never thought that I couldn't.
That's right. So always be learning, and don't think that you can't. And you never know what you can achieve. And it's clearly shown in your case. I mean, You're a market leader in a major industry and, one of the top leaders in our state. And it makes sense, the path that you've taken, the experience that you've had, and just the mindset that you've carried throughout the process.
I'll say this, if you don't stay humble when you got it, like that Tim McGraw song, Humble and Kind, because that has been a downfall that I had at one point when things were on top of the world and I thought I was all that, and man, the mighty fall quick. And so always stay humble and always treat people the right way, because you never know when it's going to come back around.
That is so true. And that's one thing I've really learned here moving from Dallas, Texas to Idaho, is always be kind to people. The smallest gesture can have an echo effect when it comes to a smaller community. I come from a community of close to 10 million. So, if you include the entire metro. Here, what I've noticed in Idaho is that your reputation, the relationships that you build, and your integrity, they're everything, because it is a smaller community. It's growing extremely fast, but the good players, they get to the top. The bad players, they get blacklisted. If you're gonna burn someone, or you're gonna be dishonest or unethical in business here, the word travels very fast. And so for you to be successful for 20 plus years, growing this type of empire, pun intended, it speaks a lot, to your character and who you've been this whole time. And so I wanted to thank you. But before we close, I got to ask, are you a big Jordan fan?
Oh man, who isn't a big Jordan fan? There's so much you can learn from Jordan. One, it's cool, right? Like, he's just Jordan, the Jordan
legend.
You take more shots.
Yep.
He missed more shots than he made, and he came, from working the bench to best in the game, at least in my childhood.
Yep. He's the best of all time. And if you compare just the mindset that he had, it's the mindset of an absolute champion. And he was one of the most competitive people probably in the world, even today. I've heard lots of stories from his colleagues and other people that I know that knew him, and he would try to compete over everything. So he was all about winning, all about competition, and all about the mindset it takes to get him there. So that's, cool. I saw it on your shirt. I thought I would mention it. But I wanted to thank our listeners for engaging with the episode of Callis Mindset with Kannon Callis. I really appreciate you all being here and investing in your own growth. It's today's conversation, its value. If it brought you clarity, motivation, or a new way of thinking, please share this episode with someone that would benefit from it. A huge thank you to Kris Miller for bringing real insight, real experience, and real stories from his life today. If you want to dive deeper into his work, you can find him on Instagram at Boise Kris. That's Boise Kris with a K. And his company is empiretitleidaho.com. If you want more access to more conversations like this, more tools for discipline and leadership, and behind the scenes actions and insights, join the Callis Mindset community on Instagram at Callis Mindset Podcast or YouTube at Callis Mindset. We have a lot more to come. Keep leading yourself, keep doing the hard things, and keep building the mindset that sets you apart. I'm Kannon Callis, and we'll see you next time.